friends, and welcome to my channel. This is Kiddos Corral and I am Heidi, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any great video footage that is going to be in the new year. So around Christmas time, I put a picture on my Instagram page that showed me making some garlic knots, and a lot of you showed interest in wanting that recipe. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make my garlic knots. Just a couple little things I want to tell you at the beginning of this video. Number one, you can stuff the garlic knots with anything that you like. If you have a favorite pesto, mozzarella, Swiss cheese, anything that you want to put in there, I would stay away from the raw meats. Make sure that your meat is cooked, and make sure that you don't overstuff your dough, because if you do, it has a tendency to kind of leak out and burn onto your pan. Also too, if you notice in my Instagram page, I made it in the shape of a Christmas tree. All the kids love that. They think it's awesome. It's really not that big of a deal. You can do a wreath. You can do anything you want. Now, obviously, you're not going to be doing a Christmas tree right now, it being January. So I just want to say, make it any shape that you want to make it. And remember, it bakes about 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. They'll get nice and golden brown on the top, especially if you take the time to brush them with a little bit of olive oil, some butter, and some Italian seasoning and some fresh garlic. It makes them so over the top. If you guys like cheesy bread or crazy bread, you will like these garlic knots, I guarantee, and you're going to be surprised on how easy it is to make. Are looking in my KitchenAid mixer bowl, and I'm kind of straddling the camera, so I'm hoping this works out for me, but I wanted you guys to be able to see in my mixing bowl. So I'm going to start out with about a tablespoon of sugar in the bottom of my bowl, and it'll be 1/4 of a cup of sugar for the entire recipe, but I just start out with just a little bit of the sugar in the bottom of the bowl because sugar activates yeast. Then I do about 1.5 cups of lukewarm water, and this water needs not to be over 115 degrees, because otherwise it will kill the yeast and your bread will not rise at all and you will be stuck with nothing. I'm using 1 pouch of yeast. I'm just going to add that to my bowl, and I'm just going to give this yeast just a couple minutes to kind of proof in there or get ready, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Okay, now that my yeast has had a little bit of time to sit, and a good way to know that your yeast is doing what it needs to do is that it will give off an intense smell of yeast, as well as it will be foamy, slightly foamy at least. So the first thing that I do is I add in my salt, and this is a good teaspoon of salt that I add to this. And then we're going to add in our flour, and I've got 2 bags here, so I may run out of the 1 bag and have to open the second one, so we will see. But you want 3 cups of flour. I start out with 3, but you'll see why as we're mixing it. You can always add more flour, but you can't take away. So I always start out with 3. And if it needs a little bit more, because it won't ball together, I will add a little bit more to the mixer as it goes. Now I just need to add just a little bit more because I was a little bit short, because I'm getting the bottom of the bag and it's hard to scoop it out. Okay. Now you want 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm going to finish off the sugar that I had left in my little cup. Put that on top. I'm going to add my dough attachment to my KitchenAid. And KitchenAid is so awesome if you want to make bread because it does all the work for you as far as the kneading is concerned. I'm going to put this on the lowest level and I'm just going to let this all combine, and then once it combines, then I will allow it to knead the bread dough for about 5 minutes. The dough is coming together, however, it is not pulling all of the dough from the sides of the bowl, and this is a good indication that you need to add a little bit more flour. So I'm going to unlock it, I'm going to pull it up. See how runny it is? It needs more flour. So I'm going to see what I have here in this bag. I'm going to add the rest of it. And then I'm just going to keep kneading it and we'll see if it comes together. You can see that it pretty well pulled all of the dough from the sides. So now I'm just going to allow this to knead this dough for about 5 minutes, and we should be good to put it in an oiled bowl covered with some plastic wrap and allow it to rise. Okay, my bread is done kneading and you can see it here in the bowl. It is still a little bit tacky, but that's okay because that's what you want. It's not going to be an extremely dry dough. It's going to be a little bit tacky because I feel like when it is a little bit tacky, you get a very nice and airy, soft dough, and it just makes the perfect garlic knots in the world. I just love it. So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to my bowl. And what I do is I just take my hands and grease the bowl, and I get a hold of this bread ball, as I call it. And I just want to make sure that everything is greased, including the ball. So I kind of take my hands and pull it down and knot it in the bottom, just like so. And then I press it down in the bowl. And then all I'm going to do is cover this with plastic wrap and then a towel. I'm going to put it in my... I'm going to place this in my microwave, which is above my stove, and my stove has been running all day because I've been doing other things, but so it's nice and toasty in there, so it shouldn't take very long for this to rise, and then we can make our delicious garlic knots, and I'll be back to show you guys how to do that. We're looking into my KitchenAid, and this is my dough. As you can tell, it has risen beautifully, and it's exactly how I want it. It looks so good, and I love the smell of bread rising. I don't know why, but it's just like so, it just smells so good to me. It's like fresh bread, obviously. Who's not gonna like that, right? So I'm gonna set this aside, and in here I have a couple tablespoons of butter, and to that I'm gonna add about, I don't know, a tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm going to add some minced garlic to this. A good heaping tablespoon probably, maybe tablespoon. And you don't have to do this part, but I do it because I think it adds to the rolls, to the buns itself, to the bread. It's really, really good. So I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. I think the Italian seasoning, when it's all over the top of the little balls of dough, it just looks so amazing. So I'm just going to whisk that together, just like that. And the next step that you have is I'm using the mozzarella sticks. Now you can use any kind of cheese that you want. I like the mozzarella sticks because I find that they're better to place in the center of each ball of dough, but these are supposed to be less fat, and that's why I chose them. But I'm going to show you about what size I cut my piece of cheese here. Let me get this open. Let me grab a knife. So usually I cut it into about that size. So about an inch maybe. And I just go ahead and I pre-slice it or pre-cut each piece. That way it goes faster when I go to roll these up. Okay, I got my cheese cut into little pieces. And now I've got my cookie sheet, and I just spray it lightly, not heavy, just lightly with the cooking spray, just to make sure that, you know, nothing's going to stick. And now I'm going to play with the dough, and I'm hoping that I can adjust the camera where you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to roll my sleeves up here because I'm going to get my hands in this dough. And as you can see, I'm just going to flatten it out because it rose nicely. Did what we wanted it to do. And I'm going to take a piece. And if it's tacky, put a little flour on your hands. That will work. I just kind of work with it even though it is a little tacky. You can also put some oil on your fingers. That will help too. And I just put the cheese in the center. And I just twist the bottom and I place it on the pan. So I'm going to spray a little oil on my hands just to keep the dough from sticking to me entirely. So I'm pinching off about that much dough. Hopefully you guys can see okay. And then I press it out like a little pancake. I put the cheese in the center, and like I said, you can stuff these any way that you like. We like ours a little plain Jane around here, but it's okay. And then you just place it on the cookie sheet. And you just want to do that until all of your balls are formed and filled and placed on the cookie sheet. Garlic knots all done. I'm going to let them rest for about a couple minutes, and then we are going to brush the stuff on the outer layer of them, and it'll make them over the top delicious. It has been a couple minutes and I couldn't find my brush. I've been saying I need to buy another one and I don't ever do it. But I have my topping here, and I've decided I'm going to add just a little hair more of the Italian seasoning to this. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. So I'm just going to take my spoon and just drizzle it over the top of each one. I love the smell of garlic. It is so good. I hope my clan makes it home before I eat them all. You never know, I might not be able to withstand and have to eat them all. I doubt it. I don't think I could eat them all anyways, but it sure is tempting, isn't it? trying to get that garlic on all of them. And it'll bake up and it'll look really, really good, I promise. I'm gonna slip this in the oven for 15 minutes and these will be all baked up and golden brown and they'll be ready to eat. I just took these out of the oven and I placed them on a serving plate. They are so delicious. I have already eaten one. I swear by these. If you try this recipe, you will not be disappointed. I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I enjoyed making these. Subscribe if you haven't. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for sticking with Kiddos Corral, and I'll be talking to you all again soon. Bye, guys.